The double slit experiment is a way to test a hypothesis. So, an experiment in science, yes, it gives you the ability, the ways and means. Yeah, you can devise an experiment to investigate how does a quantum particle, like such as a photon or an electron, how does that behave? And so they devised the double slit experiment to test and find out, is that quantum particle, that very smallest particle, turns out there are smaller aspects of a quantum particle, but let's just stick with that.
Yeah.
With the double slit experiment, they fired off one particle, one photon at a time through two slits. And as long as the observational device is in one of the slits, then the pattern that shows up on the screen looks like a little paintball went through, kind of like splat, and you get a little splat pattern. If you do not put a measuring device in one of the two slits, so you don't know which one it went through, and instead you're just looking at the screen, invariably, instead of getting the paintball splat pattern, like someone throwing paintballs through these two doorways, instead of that, you get something that looks like two people throwing two pebbles in a pond, and all the diffraction pattern emerges of constructive and destructive interference. So it's a wave pattern. And that's one photon at a time interfering with itself. So it was like so impossible that the levels of impossibility of the whole thing were mind-blowing for the physicists observing this whole thing. Like to wrap your mind around what just happened here is like, what? So that's quantum physics. It's intrinsically rather extraordinary. And it's the physics of the very small. But that's the physics of nature. That is what helps birds navigate when they know how to fly south for the winter. They're using quantum properties and quantum capabilities. When we look at photosynthesis and how do we get oxygen, how do plants store energy in their leaves? How do they function so they can give us the oxygen that we need? They're doing it with a quantum random walk.
So is quantum, is it the same thing as consciousness? I mean, it seems like they almost kind of...
Well, we see consciousness at work, definitely, when we look at quantum physics. Like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? Suddenly the observer matters. Never before did the observer matter so much. Previously, with Newtonian and relativistic physics at the regular household level and cosmic scale, we didn't have to worry if there's such a thing as an objective observer. We just assumed, of course, there's an objective it didn't matter. It didn't matter. But with physics in the quantum realm, the observer suddenly plays a key central role. Like, where do you put that observational device in the two slits? That's observation. And why does that matter so much?
Right.
So it starts getting kind of strange, and it just gets weirder and weirder the more you look at that stuff. So there's a definite connection with the consciousness and the quantum physics. You can't
does that
separate
take us into the metaverse? Is that why we're talking about the consciousness and what we observe? And if there's parallel universes, that means there could be hundreds of millions of different possibilities out there, but we're observing only one, and so that's what we get?
Many of us are observing more than one. I think humans are set up we have the ability to do what we're seeing quantum computers do. Now we're noticing, hey, a quantum computer, it's almost as if it's imagining all these other realities and going into these other realities in its imagination or its dream. What do humans do? We imagine, we dream. And then it comes back with the answer. What do we do when we have that aha moment? And you say, like, where did you get that idea, Einstein? Or Edison, where'd you come up with that idea? And it's like, I don't know. I was just sort of meditating on it, kind of imagining, going into these parallel realities, coming back with that answer. So we're doing this all the time. We humans are doing this.
I mean, it's hard to wrap your head around it, right, Alicia? When you think about it and you think about all the possibilities, there is no reason for anybody to be down. There's just, you need to sit home and get in a squatting position or whatever and just think, I need possibilities.
How good can it get? Check us out on Secure 65 Health Plans to find out more.